This video is brought to you by Storyblocks Video. Summer is out! Yay! That means you can go outside now and play. But it's not gonna be without consequences. That's right, the sunlight is gonna be hard, like super hard. And the lotion won't cut it. You're gonna need some real good tips to film outside in the direct sunlight. Hey folks, Jordy here for Cinecom.net and welcome to Creative Tuesday. For the next couple of days it's gonna be like 35 degrees or even more, and for the outsiders that's about 95 Fahrenheit. So yeah, I thought perfect timing to share some tips around filming in hard sunlight, something that most of us filmmakers or photographers hate. But when you know what you're doing, it's actually not that bad. Let me know in the comments, guys, would you rather film in extreme cold or extreme heat? Now let's kick it off with the first tip, and that is the position of the sunlight. What you want to do is draw an invisible line through your talent from the camera standpoint. And try to avoid that the sun and the camera sit at the same side. If that's the case, then turn your talent and the camera around. And this way the sunlight will function as a backlight, even creating more depth. If the sunlight would shine from behind the camera, your subject will turn out flat and she won't even be able to keep her eyes open. A little bonus tip to the position of the sun is the use of lenses. When shooting wide angle, it's going to be harder to shoot against the sun as you'll introduce more lens flare. Zooming in, going tele reduces that a little and will usually go better when you have that sunlight in the back. Tip number 2. When having that sunlight coming from the back, your subject's face will be underexposed since you need to fight against that enormous brightness of the sun. Now, one way to fix that is by using a reflector or bounce board. Now, you can get such reflectors very cheap, and we actually did a video about this $20 reflector a little while back. But you can also get yourself a foam board for just a couple of bucks from the Home Depot. You want to bounce the light from the opposite side of the sun. In this way, you'll create a beautiful pattern of backlight, shadow, highlight. And this is a cinematic lighting technique, which again creates more depth. Now, do be careful that you don't bounce the light back from below. This is a very common mistake. Bouncing light from below is used to lift up shadows from underneath the eyes and nose, which always goes together with other light sources. When working with a single reflector, make sure to hold it above the eye level of your talent to create a natural lighting angle. If you would use a stronger silver side reflector, then you could use a soft reflector from the bottom to lift up the shadows in the face. Now, apart from a reflector, you could also use world objects. For example, this is the studio building. It's gray and it doesn't reflect as much as the very bright floor in the parking. It's better for me to aim the face of my subject away from the building. Now, I've got 3 more tips to make the most out of your summer vacation, but first a little shout out to our beloved sponsor Storyblocks Video. It's an online library packed with hundreds of thousands of video assets such as 4K stock clips, 3D renders, archive clips, effects, overlays, and even After Effects templates. Another one of those expensive stock sites you might think, wrong. For a single price per year, you can download the entire library if you like so. I even challenge you to do that. For more information and start downloading right away, visit the first link in the description below. And now moving on to tip number 3, always expose for the highlights. Definitely smartphones or automatic cameras will always overexpose your shots in extreme conditions. So be aware of that and make sure that bright areas are not overexposed. It's better to have a foreground to be underexposed than something in the background be overexposed. For medium shots of a person or portraits, this means expose on the brightest side of the face. So if the sunlight from a side makes the contrast too big, then rotate your setup so that the sunlight comes more from behind, creating less contrast on the face. And if the story allows, I would even better go to silhouettes. Place your subjects right behind the sun and expose on the background. This will look much better than if you would do the opposite. Tip number 4. With every time the sunlight being in the back, your sky will never look quite good. If you like to get that blue sky, you're gonna have to film with the sun behind the camera. So this time we're gonna use our reflector as a sunshade and create a shadow over the talent. For the best result, always work from angles so that your subject has a highlight and shadow side. You could even introduce a new backlight by holding up a silver reflector behind the subject. And that brings me to the last tip, which is a little bit about filters. Now, I think we all know what an ND filter already is. It are basically sunglasses for your camera. You screw it on and it cuts a bunch of light, meaning that you can open up your aperture and introduce a nice out of focus background. These NDs come in fixed values. Usually, these are better in quality, but you also have variable filters that allows you to dial to cut away more or less light. Now, I can highly recommend to get one of those. Apart from an ND filter, I would also recommend to get a polarizer filter. Now, long story short, you can dial them to control the light refraction. Some ND filters, like the one from Polar Pro, even have such polarizer filters built on top of their NDs, so you're basically getting 2 in 1. Highlighted areas such as the sky will get dimmed and become more saturated by using such a filter. It's basically gonna help you with the hard highlight that we have the most trouble with when shooting in bright sunlight. So those were my 5 tips. If you liked the video, please let us know in the comments below. It really means a lot to us. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you Storyblocks for the support. And as always, stay creative.
Oh man, it's so hot in Belgium today. And I'm so glad that someone invented the air conditioning. Ah, this feels good. Oh man, look how muscular I am. Woohoo!